I went through the Ábrego Garcia indictment. It's about 10 pages long. I'll go through some of it with you. Apparently, according to ABC News, a long-term prosecutor in Tennessee resigned over this indictment, reportedly because he thought it was political. The attorney is Ben Schrader. He was there for 15 years and most recently was the chief of the criminal division. But let's look through the indictment. Here it is, and it talks as much about co-conspirators 1 through 6 as it does about Garcia. We don't know who they are, and even the grand jury doesn't know who all of them are. By the way, a grand jury indictment, as you can see up at the top, is a set of allegations. Unlike what Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, said, the grand jury did not find that he actually did these things. They're alleging that he did. In item 3, it says that Garcia and co-conspirators collected financial payments from undocumented aliens for illegal transportation into the United States. It doesn't really talk about that anymore. It talks about transporting them around the United States, but not transporting them into, at least as far as Garcia is concerned. In paragraph 5, they allege that Garcia was a member and associate of the transnational criminal organization referred to as MS-13. There's no evidence provided that that's the case. Paragraph 7, they allege that Garcia and his conspirators knowingly and unlawfully transported thousands of undocumented aliens who had no authorization to be present, and many of whom were MS-13 members and associates. No evidence of that allegation is provided. We get into the specific counts. Count 1, the conspiracy, says that between 2016 and 2025, that Garcia and others combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed with co-conspirators 1 through 6 and others, known and unknown to the grand jury, to knowingly and in reckless disregard for the fact that certain aliens had come to, entered, and remained in the United States, to transport and move them within the United States. It alleges, again without evidence, that Garcia and co-conspirator 1 picked up undocumented aliens in the Houston, Texas area shortly after they unlawfully crossed the southern border, and then transported them from Texas to other parts of the United States. In paragraph 14, the grand jury alleges that Garcia and 2 co-conspirators occasionally and simultaneously transported firearms illegally purchased in Texas. There is no evidence regarding the transportation or acquisition through illegal means of the firearms. Paragraph 15, again without any supporting evidence, the grand jury alleges that narcotics were purchased in Texas and transported. Paragraph 16, again without evidence, associates of MS-13 in Maryland accompanied Garcia on some trips. In paragraph 18, it says that some of the financial considerations were paid by Western Union and then later by wires. That's in paragraph 20. I guess we can expect to see evidence of Western Union and wires. Paragraph 22, it says that Garcia routinely took undocumented aliens' cellular phones and then gave them back later. No evidence of this is presented. Section 23, it says that Garcia and co-conspirators reconfigured vehicles with aftermarket unattached seating rows and transported children on the floorboards. The only evidence of the former we'll get to in a minute. There's an allegation that none of the undocumented aliens carried luggage, and in section 25, that the co-conspirators and Garcia knowingly created false cover stories. Paragraph 27, an allegation that Garcia sometimes brought close relatives with him when he picked up undocumented aliens in Texas. And in section 27 on page 7, there's an allegation that Garcia abused some of the female undocumented aliens. No evidence of that is presented. The only actual incident starts in section 30, and we've heard about this before. On or about November 30, 2022, a Tennessee Highway Patrol trooper stopped Garcia in a Suburban. There is some video of this. It shows Garcia was driving and 9 additional passengers in the Suburban, all Hispanic males, none with any identification. Garcia says that he was traveling from St. Louis. He said that passengers were on their way back to Maryland for construction jobs. There's an allegation that the Suburban had an aftermarket third row of seats placed where a cargo area should be, and that license plate reader data showed that the Suburban was never in St. Louis, though a quick internet search shows that St. Louis only keeps such information for 90 days. Finally, an allegation that Garcia had $1,400 in cash in his pocket. Garcia was not arrested and went about his business. There you go. We have a lot of allegations, and Garcia will be forced to answer them in court. For his part, Garcia's lawyer says that they will vigorously defend these claims. If Garcia is convicted, he could face 10 years per count, and that would basically be a life sentence. If found not guilty, or if he comes up with some sort of plea deal, then what happens to him? Well, he could go back to immigration court, and they'd have to decide what to do with him. Maybe deport him, but they can't deport him to El Salvador based on a current court order. It is interesting to me that the Trump administration said that there's no way they can get him back. I guess the way they decided to try and get him back was to indict him, and the president of El Salvador then turned him over, supposedly because of the indictment, though I suspect that if he had been asked directly to do it or told to do it, he would have done it. Garcia will now get his day in court. He will get his due process. If he committed these crimes, then he should pay for these crimes. If not, then of course he shouldn't. What'll happen? I don't know. We'll keep up to date here.